bullshit.
Man, I'm getting like PTSD right now.
I'm just the face lah. Hey, who do you think you are? We started this together. Some days you just feel like dying. Not saying that every day is like happy.
Yeah, no.
It's crap, man. You cry yourself sometimes alone. If this fails, everything is on you.
What excites you the most about business? And what excites you the most about Sugar and I?
Honestly, the strategy, I like solving problems. We wanted to make delicious treats. We do the delicious treats eventually to get happy hearts.
Basically, what's the purpose of this podcast?
Okay,
right.
tell
So
me.
the purpose of this podcast is to get entrepreneurs, business owners, have this platform so we can like pick their brains, understand their journey. Maybe they have like some advice that we can learn from in terms of how we navigate as well. So we're business owners, you're a business owner. So that's essentially why we want to start this podcast lah.
Okay.
And who better to invite on our show
Then Ryan's best friend. Oh, his best friend, man.
wait, what? I think a few people are going to get really
Hey.
pissed about that.
I'm not his best friend. Yeah, totally not, right?
Yeah, no, we're
no.
cool.
I mean, I've seen Ryan be claimed as a best friend many times. So.
Yeah.
No, chill. All right.
But we both know.
So I think that's just the purpose. Isn't that the purpose? Why are we
Yes,
doing this?
absolutely.
Okay, what is your purpose behind this?
For me personally, it's to tell stories. I think we're so lucky and blessed that we know people in the business space, in the entrepreneurial space, that we've heard their stories. And I feel like sometimes I feel like, there's such a missed opportunity. There's so many good stories to be told and shared. So I feel like this is a great platform for us to share those stories together, not just between ourselves, but with everybody else.
I agree with that. Sometimes we have conversations and we're like, shit, I wish this was recorded.
Yeah, dude.
Right. So
All
now
the
we-
time, dude.
Yeah.
Even
So now
before
we
the
have
camera
a
started
platform
rolling.
for this.
Yeah. Platform fits it though. Yes.
So, Ilyas, maybe like if you can provide us like some kind of like an elevator pitch or something, right? Like, who are you? What do you represent?
Okay.
You've got Sugar and I. So maybe like if you could introduce yourself
Sure.
to people who are, the two people who are watching this.
All right, so sorry. Hey guys, my name is Ilyas. I am the co-founder of Sugar and I and another company called Farpost Academy, now more known as One United Academy. So I graduated as an engineer turned entrepreneur, started the business with my sister. And during my beginning years, I used to be an engineer working my 9 to 5, and my 5 to 9 was being a business owner. So we started off from home baking cakes for our family, and slowly it turned from a family ordeal to neighbors to extended family, and soon after started spreading, right? And slowly we opened our first shop, second shop, third, fourth, fifth. Now we're at our central kitchen. And so we're still looking on how are we going to strategize and move forward as a dessert brand in a way. Also, we're going to introduce new things like savory items and also very exclusive drinks as well. Aside from that, my One United journey started with one of my close friends as well, Jeremy. So we started it off with our late friend Sean. So the three of us started it, and Sean passed away due to a tragic accident. We brought in more partners in as well. Now we are at 260 students and growing.
Wow.
And we are in Johor. So people in Johor can also enjoy the services that we provide as well. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I do, and that's where we're at in the journey.
Okay, what was like your first stint? Because of course I know you from Sugar and I, and then like Farpost, right?
Yeah.
But prior to that, you also always had like a knack for business, for entrepreneurship. Like,
Yeah.
What was that first touch point from that conversion? When did that happen?
Dude, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was like 11. So I used to, I was the kid, like back in school we used to play like the eraser,
Yeah.
and whoever who had the overlap of the eraser, you get to keep that eraser.
Yeah.
Guess who was selling the erasers, bro? This guy.
Wow.
No wonder you guys get along.
And I used to sell candy. So I used to buy like the big jar, and I would put it inside a small like plastic bag, and I would staple and I would sell it at school.
Also, you were the candy repackager.
Yes. I was that. I
Reseller.
was that
You have
guy.
to hear what she was doing, selling little things to her kids. She would like take up bits and pieces in her house, like X toys and like what was it?
I don't know, a lot of it was like trash at home. And then I like repackaged them and then like just sold them
Yeah.
at school. Yeah, similar.
So from there, I started changing into magic cards, and then I never went into Pokemon cards, sadly.
Okay.
But I was in magic cards. I was trading and selling. Then soon after, so the real entrepreneur journey started when I started a business with one of my other good friends as well. We wanted to build an app. So we wanted to build this, it's called Jaga app now. So this app,
Oh.
Oh,
you know
no
Jaga
way.
app. So
Yeah.
we sort of like got the idea
Yeah.
of Jaga app long before Jaga app was Jaga app.
Okay.
But then both of us had things that both of us had obligations that we needed to do, and so we had to give up on that dream. So aside from that, I also went into a soil enhancer business, which is basically microorganisms for the soil. So in a way, it's organic fertilizers. So you don't really need fertilizers when you have healthy soil.
Okay.
So we introduced the microbiomes for the soil so that it gets healthier. So you don't really need fertilizers. So
I see.
we were selling that for a bit. Basically, I went to my sister and told her like, hey, you know what? This business is relatively small. Let's grow it and make it big.
So she was already running Sugar and I.
She was running Sugar and I, yeah. So she is the baker.
Okay.
She's always been into baking, but you know, she just did it for the love of baking and for family mainly, right? So whenever my parents wanted a sweet treat, she'll be baking it for the family. So it all started from there, and then she started joining like university booths and things like that. And at this point in her business, I wasn't a part of it at all.
Okay.
And so when I came into the business, I helped her do everything else, the costing, the deliveries, the customer service, the marketing, whatever. And she was the baker. So that's how we started, and slowly we grew from there, lah.
How did that conversation happen?
I remember this super clearly. She wanted to join a bank. So she was like, okay, I'm applying for a bank. I'm like, no, don't. Let's do business together.
Right.
And then she was like, I don't know. Maybe I want to try corporate first. I was like, trust me, let's do business together. And she was like, she still applied. She didn't get it. And she was like, okay, this is the sign. I'm like, yes. So that's...
Do you guys need to sabotage the interview?
No, lah, dude. No. No, I didn't. But I guess it was a sign. And I guess it was one of the best pivotal moments in our lives.
Yeah, you always say your sister's like the biggest blessing in your life.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my family in general, they're my biggest blessing. My parents have been supportive since day one. Mom has always been supportive. Dad is brilliant, always gives his inputs. In fact, when we first wanted to open up our shop, he was the one who lended us some money. So without them, we're nothing lah. So truly my biggest blessings are my family. Yeah.
I think a lot of the people in the audience, they don't know that your partner is actually your sister. The brains and the
Yeah.
baking is all
Yeah.
coming from your sister.
I would say the heart, the brains, the hands and the legs are all from her. I'm just the face lah.
Hey, that's a lot of value, okay? It's a lot of value add.
Yeah. So that's my sister has always been the one who is deeply interested in the field. I've just been into business, been into growth, been into culture, finance, marketing, but not really particularly baking. So any industry is fine with me. But I fell in love in the baking industry, and now I bake like once or twice a week. So yeah. You should try my tiramisu, bro.
Yes.
Oh, I
You
love
like tiramisu?
tiramisu.
Oh yeah, I remember you love tiramisu.
I'm
I
a
should have brought
tiramisu
my tiramisu.
queen.
So I made my own mascarpone cheese from
Okay.
cream itself.
Oh,
so
wow, okay.
we made everything from scratch.
Okay.
So that was a really interesting R&D experiment I did. Yeah. So those are some of the experiments that we did lah.
I want to deep dive a little bit more about your partnership with your sister. So I think the more commonly explored partnerships are with friends, and then there's with your romantic partners, right? But what is it like being in partnership with your sibling, your sister?
Okay.
So what are the pros and what are the cons?
Okay, so first and foremost, I'll start off by saying it is a bad idea to start a business with your friends or your especially your special partner or even your sibling for that matter. Why? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm saying be extra careful, because when you are very emotionally connected to a person, sometimes you don't take professionalism as important as emotions. For example, we're friends, right? But your responsibility is to do the marketing. Mine is to do the finance, for example. I'm doing my job. You're not doing your job. But then if I go to you like, hey bro, do your job, you'll be like, hey, who do you think you are? We started this together. So then it starts to become toxic. Unless from the very beginning, everyone understands their role, everyone understands and puts business first, then it's a good idea to go into business with this kind of people, right? Which is why sometimes it's better to start a business with an enemy rather than a friend, because an enemy will always make you be on your toes compared to a friend, right? So that's the preface of everything, right? But ultimately, my partnership with my sister has been a dream to me. Reason being is she's the yin to my yang. I am a very big picture, non-organized person. She is organized, steady. I love to be in front of the camera. She hates being in front of the camera. So we really complement each other in a lot of ways. So the things that I am accountable for, she can clearly trust me on it, and whatever that she is accountable for, I can fully trust her on it. So it makes the relationship and also the whole business slightly easier and better. But with that being said, doesn't mean that it's all rainbows and butterflies lah. We fight, I think, on approximately about twice a day, every day. So it's normal to argue, but I think the most important thing that keeps us still tight until today, 6-7 years after, is that at the end of the day, we always put business first. And it's really important, especially in the business setting, right? Business always comes first. Yes, ego and all, but that's secondary. Doesn't mean that I'm the older brother, I should dismiss whatever that you're saying. No, we are equals in this, right? And whatever that you say, I have to agree in order for the decision to be made, or whatever that you say, I have to agree in order for, vice versa. So ultimately, there's a lot of respect that needs to come into play, and especially when you have like a sibling business, most of the time the abang will always feel like, oh, I'm older than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm in a way has larger ego most of the time, right? So if you're going into a business with your sibling, there needs to be no egos. And okay, yeah, you're my abang, but today, right now, right in front of me, you're my CEO, you're my CFO, you're not my brother. You're my CEO, or you're my CFO, or you're my C whatever O, right? So ultimately, business always has to come and supersede the relationship that you had prior to that. So that's just my 2 cents, and my experience with my sister. Even though we're brother and sister, one good thing about it is trust. We trust each other, right? We don't really need contracts between each other, but we still have it. Because sometimes when you go into business and you don't have a contract, that's a red flag. Especially if one of the business partners said, no need contract lah, why you want contract? Because the real business owners will want to say like, I don't have anything to hide. I'm in this as much as you are. Let's sign the contract. This is to protect both of us. But if a person comes in and says like, no need contract lah, all this nonsense lah, that means there's some red flag there lah. That's always my assumption. So always have black and white, even though it's your sibling, your best friend, your partner, your wife, your husband, whatever it may be, right? Have black and white. Very, very important.
That element of having put your ego aside,
Yeah.
was that something that you were very aware about when you entered into partnership, or was that something that you learned over time? Was it a process like?
For me, so my relationship with my sister has always been super close. So I've had the awareness about, checking my ego, especially with my family from a very young age. So that level, so when we went into business, there was no ego to begin with. So it was just an improvement, right? But sometimes, of course, ego clashes does happen. We're human, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has an ego,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
But ultimately, the question that we always ask ourselves at the end of the day after every argument is this better for the business? Or is this just me satisfying my own personal want and need, right? Is this going to help the business, right? So that helps like concretize your decision. So that's how I do it with my sister.
Okay.
So for me, no, not so much through the process, but I've always been aware of it. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for, like you said, right? Like it so happens that most partnerships have emotional involvement to some capacity. Your best friend,
Yeah.
it's a close friend, it's a spouse, it's a sibling, whatever it is, right? Like what's your advice for people, just whether it's us or whether it's anybody else, right, for navigating the emotional element to business against what's best for the business? Like if there's a conflict that was arised at some point in time, right? Like maybe a learning that you had through that conflict was, hey, we had to be objective here,
Yeah.
as opposed to have those emotions involved,
Yeah.
right? Like what's your advice for people who are in that situation?
Okay,
right?
so let's just break it down, right? First part is you make decisions based on your gut. A lot of people make decisions based on your gut. Most people make decisions based on data, right? So it's a mix of both, ultimately, right? Sometimes like it makes sense for me to work with you on paper because you are this top dog, finance expert, finance guru. I know that you have a lot of money inside your bank, but something doesn't feel right here, right? So that is the gut instinct,
element, yep.
right? So you should also take that into consideration and not just look into data. So I would say it's a balance between both. So actually, I had a point that I wanted to tie back to this. What's the question again?
About navigating the emotions around conflict. So for example, if two people who are you have history, you're emotionally involved, like a sibling, right? But there's conflict in that situation.
So
how do you navigate that?
So I have a story about this. Me and my sister's biggest argument was about an investment coming into the business. So there was this investor who wanted to come into the business. My sister was fully against it. I loved the idea of having.
You all for it?
I was all for it, right? And we had this argument, huge argument, because at the end of the day, the question of is this best for the business was not answered because she felt like this is not good for the business. I felt like it was good for the business. So who decides, right? Ultimately. So I went to a point even to tell her like, you know what, you don't have to dilute your shares, I'll dilute my shares for this, right? And we had a huge argument for days about this. And ultimately, we came up to the ultimate conclusion, which is that is this disagreement between us. If I say yes, you say no, it's a no. Both of us have to say yes when it comes to huge decisions like this. So that helped us navigate through things easier, right? So
It's a rule.
it's a rule.
It's a rule.
Both of us have to say yes when it
Mhm.
comes to big decisions.
Okay.
If one says no, it's a no.
And how early on in the partnership was that already established?
At that particular
After the conflict.
After the
So it's the learning after the
it was the
conflict.
learning after
That's
the
great.
conflict, because like it was checkmate. How do we move forward here? I want this investor to come in because he has value at A, B, C, D. My sister is like, he will disrupt the whole culture, environment, and the whole, how we're working. It might just destroy everything.
Wow.
So, and we were like, it wasn't moving anywhere.
Mm.
So I told her, like, you know what? Fine. When it comes to this kind of big decisions, both of us have to agree, because at the end of the day, I don't want you to resent me, and similarly, I don't want to resent you. And if things go sour, then
There's no business anyway.
it's no
Mm.
business
Yeah.
anyway. So that was just that was the decision that we have made. But
Mm.
I guess there's no right or wrong to this, right? That was just our solution to this issue. Yeah.
I'm curious, when you first decided to go into partnership with your sister for Sugar and I, was the intention to grow what was already in place, what existed? Was the intention to help your sister because you love her and you care for her and her business? Or was the intention to grow it to something bigger than yourself and your sister?
So it started off as a 2-in-1, where I wanted to do business. I was desperate to find a business for myself. I did 4 to 5 different businesses, all failed. So I wanted to do something, anything, any business, right? So then my sister came into the picture, and my sister, it started off as me wanting to build something, and also the second and more important point was for me to help my sister, which is why I started this business, and I put my sister as the main shareholder, because I told her, like, look, this is your business. You started it, okay? You are going to probably, it's yours. I'm coming here to help you grow the business, right? And so that's how it started off. And ultimately, I think now it has grown larger and larger, and I feel like we're on a different path. But when it started, it was just like, let's start something fun. Let's see how far we can grow it. We had no idea on how to run a business. We had no idea about acquisitions, building to scale, building to sell. We had no idea about anything. We just wanted a business and just called it ours. And that's how we started. And now, as we progress in business, we have a better understanding, and hopefully, the idea or the dream is to be like something like an inside scoop, where you have a lot of outlets and ultimately being bought off by a huge company. Yeah.
I have like a two-pronged question, right? What excites you the most about business, and what excites you the most about Sugar and I?
What excites me the most about business? Honestly, the strategy. I like the fact of, I like solving problems, solving really hard problems. I think I've liked it ever since I was an engineer, and I think I had that problem solving skill. So whenever people come to me with huge problems, I love it. Like,
You're still like an engineer deep down, and
deep
an
down.
engineer
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah, so I'm the solution guy, like the idea guy.
Okay.
Yeah, any issues that you have, come to me. I'll give you like 5 ideas. But now I just tell them to ChatGPT lah. But yeah,
We never do that over here.
Sure.
We don't pay for premium, no.
Okay, what was the question again? Sorry.
So yeah, what excites you
Okay.
the most about business?
Yeah.
And then also, what excites you the most about Sugar and I?
Like, so for Sugar and I, what excites me the most is the fact that whenever I sell something to a person and the person tastes it and they say it tastes good, and like, wah, sedapnya benda ni.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, that makes you feel so good. I mean, that makes me feel so good, right? Because I made someone happy. So I reflected on this recently about the business. Why did we start Sugar and I, right? And why should Sugar and I exist, right? It was a really difficult question, because honestly, I just thought like we wanted to make money and sell things.
Yeah.
But when I thought deeper and deeper and went to some of the examples of what happened in life, right, and what happened throughout the business journey, I realized that we have two reasons to why we started this business. One is because we wanted to make delicious treats. That's why we do it, right? We've always wanted to experiment, find the best tasting treats, right? That's why we do the business. And number two is happy hearts. We do the delicious treats eventually to get happy hearts, because and when we pair it with a beautiful box, and when we see people gifting it to others, and it adds on more happiness into the world, I just think that that's a beautiful sentiment. And I think the world needs more of those, you know, because I think at the current day and age, it's just very sad world. And I think that's, I took it as my own responsibility to make the world a happier place lah.
Wow.
I love that.
Wow. That is, you know what? I really like your packaging.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Which one? The new, the latest
Just in
one?
general, your packaging is
Thanks, man.
fantastic. Like,
I
there's
appreciate
so much
that, man.
effort that goes into
I
the
appreciate
design and
And you end up looking forward to it,
Yeah.
because I know every festive or festivity you guys have, there's a new limited edition box.
Yeah.
And they're so there's, you can tell that there's a lot of art that goes into it.
I appreciate
Yeah, I
that.
love the little things that you can toggle on the box. Yeah, it's very special.
Thank you. So yeah, we've been getting feedback about, you know, how people love our packaging. So we decided to keep the things that made us who we are and improve it, and whatever that people don't like, just discard it. So the box, I can't take any credit for that. That's my team who's done that. I just say like, I like this color, and I'm the annoying guy who's like, okay, maybe can we change this color? Like, we'll go through 5 variations, right? And then I like the first one better. So I'm that guy, you know, just to see the options and make sure that my decision is the right decision. So yeah, so all props to my team, and also Whip Creatives. So they are one of my designers for my packaging as well.
I see.
Speaking of your team,
Yeah.
in your experience thus far, which department, actually no, not which department, which hire would you say has been the most crucial so far?
Crucial. I would say the kitchen head. The kitchen head and also the marketing team. Why? Because the kitchen is the heart. And if your heart is not right, it produces shit. And when shit gets distributed, then it destroys your brand. Because the issue is when you don't have consistency, when you don't control that element of it, what happens is people's perceptions will be ruined. For example, have you ever been to a restaurant like, wow, this restaurant is great, then you come back with your friends and, oh, it wasn't as good as the first time.
All the time.
Right? So then what ends up happening is you don't go there again. When in actual fact, it could just be that one time. So quality control is really, really important, right? So that's one thing that, because we want to make sure that we have the trust with our customers. So usually the trick is you need to let the customer try 3 times consistently, and if the 4th time it's not as good as the first 3, the customers will be a little bit more forgiving. But if it's the first it's bad, then it's bad lah. They'll never come back to you ever again.
Yeah.
If it's the second, then they won't come back to you. If it's the third, it's like maybe they didn't do something right this time. They're a bit more forgiving, but still very crucial. But after the third, then they are quite forgiving. That's usually how
Like that's some
the
brand
rule of
trust, brand love. Like
yeah, the rule of thumb is that 3 times to gain trust. Yeah.
Interesting.
And like your bestseller now, what is it?
So we're known for bombolognes. So we're coming up with exciting new things. I don't know whether I should announce.
Oh, I think you totally should.
Yeah. And we don't know when this is going to be edited and released anyway.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
Could it be 2026?
Could be never. Like our previous.
This could be history very deep down, you know.
Okay, so just exclusive for Platform Digital.
PD Cruise.
We were told that we can whisper.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Bosa.
Oh, benda, wait.
It's called boza.
Boza?
So it's bomboloni pizzas.
Oh
Wait,
my
what?
god.
So we're
So you're going savory.
savory.
So it's like a bomboloni with like cheese and stuffing in it?
And yeah, and pizza. I mean, in pepperoni.
Wow.
Bro, I tried it. Oh my god.
Wait, I thought we were like your lab rats.
good. Yeah, you can. You can come
Bro,
by.
we're more than
anytime,
happy.
anytime. Of course, I would love to have you guys over. But dude, I tried it.
So wait,
Wow.
what is? So you said like nama donuts, right?
Yes.
What is a nama donut? Is that the dough itself, or so you can have a nama style donut, which is a pepperoni pizza nama.
Boza.
You can. You can.
Okay, how
So
does that
nama
work?
Nama is made famous in Japan.
Okay.
They mainly use a carbohydrate such as like sweet potato, or they can use pumpkin to put it inside their dough to add hydration and also it add flavor, right?
Okay.
So we came up. So the story on how I discovered this was I went to Japan and I went to the most viral donut shop in the world. It's called I'm Donut, right? So it's I'm Donut question mark. So when I tried it, I was like, is this even a donut? You know, that's why the name I am Donut question mark. So when I looked deeper into what was it, because it was light and fluffy, it was chewy, it was something that I've never tried before. And when I tried it, I was like, dude, I gotta bring this back to Malaysia. So of course, we did a lot of R&D, tried, tested, and finally I think we nailed a recipe. And so that's how. So it's the nama dough, right? So you can put it on pizza. You can make it into bread. You can make it into donut. But we decided to go with donut because of my prior experiencing it as a donut form.
But that dough,
Yeah.
is that how all your bombolinis are going to come out, or is that specific to that SKU?
That's specific to that SKU.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, again, for us particularly, when we want to introduce new flavors, right? And for example, nama donut is a hit. It's such a risk for us to replace everything, because there will be people who don't really like nama donut and prefer the old donuts. So we always had that, not everything has to be, the dough doesn't have to be, because we already have a winning formula for the dough. So why
From
why ruin that?
from your perspective, like, why was it a winner? Like, what about that dough was like?
Our previous dough,
No.
our current dough,
The nama
dough.
Yeah. Why were you like blown away by it? Why were you like, okay, this is at least you're
Okay.
in the opinion that this is a winner,
yeah.
right?
So firstly, the flavor. So the flavor was unique. It's something that you have never tasted before, but it's still familiar. Second is the hydration, meaning like if you wouldn't, usually for bread, right, you would to leave it out, it'll dry. But this dough, even after like a day or two, it's still super moist and fluffy.
Oh, it retains
It
the
retains
moisture.
the moisture because of the starch within the carbs, right? So there's some science things going on here. I'm not too sure of the science, but ultimately those were two of the reasons. But ultimately for me, it creates a very different texture compared to a standard donut. So like, or standard dough altogether, right? When you eat bread, usually you have like this fluffy and like bouncy kind of mouth feel. But when you have nama donut, it's slightly chewy and melt in the mouth. So it's different. Yeah, so when I discovered that, I was like, wow, this is something different. So I appreciated it. So I don't know whether the market appreciates it. So I just wanted to introduce something to the market. And ultimately, it doesn't matter whether what I like or what I don't like. It matters more what the market likes. So if the market is telling me that, oh, this product is good, we want to buy more of it, then I'll keep the nama donut line. If it tanks and doesn't work, replace it with someone new. Yeah.
And is that with the savory line, or is that just with some sweet products as well?
So we're gonna try it for different things.
Okay.
See, ultimately, I think one thing about Sugar and I and our brand is that we're always innovating things. I'm always pushing them like, guys, innovate, push the boundaries, try something new, be the trendsetters, be the creators. This is who I want the brand to be known as. People who have never tried beignets, we want to introduce beignets. People who have never tried nama donut, we want to introduce we were the ones who I can't take full credit about bomboloni, but we were the ones who sort of like popularized.
You definitely did. I had no idea what it was before Sugar and I.
Yeah, so we tried to push the unknown to the known. So we wanted to push the donuts where people, like, for example, crullers. Have you heard of crullers before?
Mm-mm.
So crullers is a form of donuts. So a lot of people who have never heard of this kind of donuts, we want to introduce it and we want to push it to the mass and eventually make Malaysians taste things that are not in Malaysia, particularly like old-fashioned donut. So old-fashioned donut is like, it's like a cake donut, right? And then you have crullers, which is something like a cream puff, but instead of baking it, you fry it, and it's so good, bro. Oh my god. Yeah, so it's so sad that not a lot of people have experienced this side of things, and I just wanted to push and popularize things that people have never tried before.
Actually, speaking of which, right, you've traveled a lot. And your wife is a stewardess as well. So she's very well traveled, right?
Yes.
Out of all the countries you've visited,
Yeah.
which one were you like super impressed by their desserts?
Good question.
Oh, damn.
You're like, damn, like Malaysians have to try this stuff.
Oh. London.
London?
London has really good desserts, bro.
Really?
Really good desserts.
That was
Yeah.
surprising to me.
Is it
Yeah.
because of like all the concoction of cultures that
Correct.
come in?
Yes, yes, exactly that. So, the best donut shop that I tried in London is by a Pakistani lady. It's
So basically,
Of course. Exactly.
desserts from Pakistan.
Yeah, and so like it's a melting pot.
Yeah,
So
okay.
everyone around the world goes there and popularizes it, right?
That's
like
fascinating.
like if you want to know the trends of the world, it's either New York or London. These are the two main places that you see trends start from, right? There was one cromboloni. There was one super huge trend about crombolonis started from England, right?
Okay,
Then so a lot of things. So when you go to places like London and things like this, you try things that potentially can work in your own country, but it really depends on, because certain things, like for example in France, right, when you taste their pastry cream and you bring it back here and you offer pastry cream chocolate like this or a pastry cream chocolate like Malaysian style, Malaysian love cow flavor, but if you go to France, they like subtle flavoring. So it's very different depending on where your market is.
I was just about to say, because you went to France, and
Yeah.
you want to share your experience?
Yeah, how was France for you?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the people. They were fantastic. They're so cultured in arts, music,
Really?
all of that. But I was quite disappointed in the food, I must say. And I think it's because of my experience here in Malaysia. Like, we have so much flavor,
We're
the
spoiled.
spice.
We're a bit spoiled lah.
Yeah, we're a bit spoiled. Yeah. But not to say I didn't enjoy the food, but I think it was so far from what I had in mind in terms of expectations. So I think that's where I was a little bit disappointed. But in terms of the culture, I loved it. I think I experienced the culture in the best way possible because I had a really good friend of mine staying there. So he was like the best guide. He showed me all the places,
Okay.
all the must go and must see and must tries. So I feel like I had the best experience. Yeah.
So my experience in France was totally opposite. It smelled like pee everywhere I went.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah, okay.
That is true.
Aside from that, people were rude.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
I
they were
mean,
so polite.
Maybe because my mom was wearing a hijab. Maybe.
Ah.
I don't know. But we got kicked out of a few restaurants because of that.
Oh,
So yeah, my perception was like toots,
God.
So like you don't mess with my mother, but Maybe it was just that particular experience that made my whole perception towards Paris, not even France, just Paris, a bit, skewed.
That's very interesting.
So I think you had a really good experience because you had a local, and of course it's always better when you have a local. You know what I mean?
Perhaps.
So yeah, I went there without a local.
A local Mexican.
Yeah, he's not from Paris.
Yeah,
He's
but he can
actually
speak
went to-
French. Right? I mean, he can speak French,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
He spent how many years there now?
Oh, a lot, like a decade,
Like a
by
decade.
now.
as
yeah.
long as you can speak some French, they will love you. Yeah, but you need to learn their language, which is like, yeah.
What's the most challenging thing about business for you?
People,
Yeah, it's always
people and sales would be the two most challenging part about any business, in my opinion. Yeah, but ultimately, if you have the right people, I think everything will fall into place.
I agree. I want to go back to like what you said about your head chef having heart, right? That's you said that the head chef is the heart of the business, but
Yeah.
also like I've noticed that when people in your organization have heart, like they do work with heart, it's a whole other output.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with leaders. If you lead with heart, people tend to follow more. They follow better. They like being on your side and on your team. So I feel like having heart is something that I feel like most people don't focus much on. They look at all these leadership styles and
Yeah. But also, at the same time, it's also very vague. It's like it's a
is.
hard target to.
you can't define it.
Yeah, it's hard to define. So like, okay, so bring it back to you, right?
Yeah.
Is heart something that is within the person? Is it something that you actively have to instill? Is it something that maybe you need to work on so you inspire that out of other people?
I guess
Like, what's your thought on?
to a certain extent,
concept.
everyone has heart. Everyone has heart. It's just whether what they're doing is aligned with where they want to allow their heart to pursue, right? So as a leader, what we need to do is first identify: is this something that you want to do, right? Do you really want to do this for the next 20 years? Where do you want to go with this? You know, is this truly what you really want? Like, if I take back everything and I give you the opportunity to redo it, would you start again? So if the answer is yes, therefore there is some passion and some heart to it, right? I guess with passion, interest, and heart, you can pick up anything you want and you can improve and become great at it. Maybe not the best, but you'll definitely be great at it, right? With enough time and effort, definitely you'll be good at it. So for me, when you have heart and when you don't, the difference is in the details. So for example, for my team, the people who don't have heart, the results will be imperfect, it'll be ugly, it'll be rugged, and it's just not a good sight.
It shows in the work.
Yeah,
It
but
shows
when a
in the
person does it with heart, you can see perfection. You can see even if it's not perfection, it's almost close lah, right? You can close one eye. Wastage goes down. Everything goes well. Customers get happier. So it's really really important for you to have that. But of course, you can eliminate most of this with SOPs. But really, if you can somehow position the right people at the right place, they have the heart to do it. Ultimately, it will become so much better. And, the results will speak for itself.
And would you say that responsibility falls on ultimately the leader?
Ultimately, yeah. I mean, of course, it is the leader the leader is the person who probably, a good leader will take the right person and put the person at the right seat so that this person can eventually shine and can become his or her own leader, ultimately, right? So for me, I would say the most important is always the leader, but a follower can also sustain without a leader, right? If the person has heart. So ultimately, I think if you're looking to grow something and outgrow even you, right? That's when you need to develop the skills of identifying how can you identify this person's passion, of this person's interest? How can you put them in the right platform, give them the right platform for them to grow, push and motivate them so that they can achieve it, and at the same time give them comfort if they fail and give them support when they actually fail. So when you create the right platform for this, I think ultimately what happens is you create leaders within the organization itself, you know. But with that being said, right, I learned this from one of my seafoods, and they say that sometimes you can't change a rabbit to a tiger, and this is in the DNA. Some people are meant to do some things and some people are just not. And as the leader as well, you need to identify, does this, you know, is this a fish? If it's a fish, I should put it inside the water. If it's a tiger, I need to ask it to go hunt. You know, so you as the leader also need to identify this character, this personality, what is this person's strength, so that you can then push and grow them ultimately, because that's something that everyone wants. You know, you can ask anyone in your team, do you want to grow? If they say no, you kick them out, bro. Really. They become toxic, right? So most of the healthy people wants to grow because it's a natural process. So if you as the leader, you can provide the platform for that, I think you'll be great.
I love the fact that you spoke about identifying those traits. Like if they're in the right seat, they will thrive, right? And another thing that I found like an interesting observation of what you said as well is about that support system for failure. Because I think we live in an environment where, especially like our local upbringing and the way in which it's an Asian setup to a large extent, and we tend to be punitive with failure. Ini salah, you know, and then it's like, well, no, the L is not a loss or a failure, it's a learn, right? And so like we learn more from our failures than we do our successes. And every time we do something and we do it not to where it's supposed to be, chances are there's a gap there, and that's a learning gap. So we can look at failures as opportunities to learn, as opposed to like a punitive way of doing things, right? Like how do you create a supportive environment where people are not so afraid of, you know, making mistakes, of failing here and there, and then growing through that process?
I think by setting the right expectations, you know, you, of course, at the end of the day, you want to set an expectation and also, you know, have accountability if anything would to go wrong. I think this is critical. But at the same time, let them know that, you know, this is your target, this is where you're supposed to go, I'm going to push you. But if anything goes wrong, come back to me, I'm here for you. Right? So you want to be there to support, but at the same time you want to push, and ultimately you want to motivate this person, because honestly, dude, like if life was so easy, people get bored. People actually, they say they complain about the hardship, but they yearn for the hardship. They yearn for the stress. And this is the reality of it, right? Because without stress, without hardship, you won't grow. So ultimately, I think you need to give them a hard enough challenge to a point where they can succeed and they can fail, and they need to know this, because when they succeed, the feeling of success is so great. Right? And if you fail, you feel like shit, but when they fall, you tell them like, you know what, it's okay, we're here, I'll take accountability, it's my company, I take the losses, it's on me, we try it.
It's like when you're playing games and like you make it in the easiest difficulty and it's so boring. Right? But then when there's a bit of a challenge and you like beat the boss or whatever, then you're rewarded.
Exactly. You'll be like,
So psychology is the same one.
It's the same. Yeah. It really is the same.
Yeah. I think one of our challenges is just like judging what that challenge really is. Like, is this something that is hard enough but worthy of, you know, somebody's journey, where yes, failure is a possibility, but chances of success is definitely there. As opposed to something that is actually impossible. Right? Yeah, I think that's something that we deal with quite often as well, because right now the team is quite strained and they're multitasking like crazy and they're doing so many different things at once. And deep down, I'm like, I know you guys can do it. But then like every now and then I also hear feedback and they're saying, actually, this is way too much. Like we can't do this, right? And so I'm kind of like on this, I'm like trying to navigate this thin line between like, of course we can, and like, I hope you don't break. Because we're taking on quite a bit of load right now. So that's our current situation. That's a very,
I think
yeah.
definitely they can take it. 100%.
All right, you have it on camera.
Ultimately, I think
Huh.
they definitely can take it, because I think diamonds are created through pressure and stress.
100%.
So ultimately, you need to let them know that, look, when we get through this, you're going to be the best shining diamond. Well, this is a polishing session. Polishing is not going
Yeah.
to feel great,
Yeah.
but as soon as we're done, you're going to be a stud. You're going to be
Yeah.
great. You're going to be well fed, well paid. You're going to get all the things that you dream of.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think one big exercise that I've recently learned about was about this vision dreaming, right? The vision board. Get your team to do it. Because why is this so powerful is that you actually, like, certain people, like you see them like, oh, I want to go diving here, and you be like, oh, you like diving, like, you know, you find out things that you never knew about your team members. And when you can clearly see, and when you can clearly put out in words or in picture form and make it clear on what you want to achieve, you as the leaders, you can help them achieve this, right? So you can use it as like a tool of like in a way a motivating tool, right? Okay, I see that you want to go diving in Sipadan, right, in next year. I help you. You help me hit this target, I give you lah. So the person, even though under a lot of strain, feels like it's okay, you know, let's do this together. I want to go Sipadan on my diving trip next year. So this is like a very powerful tool that you guys can not only find out more, like at a deeper level on who your team members are, but more than that, you can use it as a tool to motivate them to work even harder. Honestly, I think people don't realize how far they can actually be stretched. And whatever that your team is complaining about is probably only like about 50% of how far they can actually go.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's complaining, but it's like voicing out. some
Yeah. I mean, like,
concerns.
bro.
But you know that tool that you spoke about,
Yeah.
I use that on myself.
Yeah,
Like, I have goals,
for sure.
right? And so it's not just something that, because there's an element, it can be interpreted as an element of manipulation, right? But I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I manipulate myself all the time to achieve outcomes. It's like hacking, or like doing leg day.
Yeah.
I hack my brain all the time to end up in the gym. I'll lie to myself. I'll tell myself like, yeah, it's back and bias.
Yeah.
I drive there and I'm like, nah, you did back and bias yesterday. It's legs. But I already showed up. I'm at the gym, so far I gotta do it lah. Right? So like I have like goals, like whether it's like a nice car or whether it's a nice place or whatever it may be. Those goals, I fixate on them.
Yeah.
And that gets me through each quarter or each month or each quarter. I see those targets. And I think that's fantastic that we can resonate or we cascade that information to others as well. Like one is learning about your team's goals, but next is actually reminding them, hey, fixate on it, because you need a target.
Yeah.
You need a target.
Yeah.
That's like your why. It's almost like finding your
100%.
why.
And you'll be surprised, half of your team members, or if more than half, wouldn't even know what they want.
The target. And
They don't know. Like you ask them, what do you want in the next 5 years? They'll be like, I don't know, because they never thought about it. And they will be so thankful to you because now they actually go through the process and visualize, right? That is a visualizing. I think you can just find like 5-year visualization or something like that, dream board or whatever. And you can put them through this where they go through the day feeling and putting themselves in their future self. So waking up in the morning, what do you see? How do you see your house? Go into the toilet. How do you see yourself in the mirror? You see yourself as jacked, skinny, fit? Do you go into a walk-in wardrobe, double sink? What do you see? Spell it out, right? Then you go into the office. Who do you see? How do you feel? What do you want? How much is in your bank balance? Where have you traveled in your office? There's pictures on the table. Where are those pictures? Those are pictures that you've traveled around the world. Where are they?
Mhm.
And when you slowly break it down and you give them the taste of how sweet the future can be, and then you remind them, like, hey, you really want that, right? Then you gotta work for it lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we as humans, we are designed to be complacent. We're designed to be
Yeah, it's conservation of energy.
exactly
Yeah.
right. So we're designed like that. So we need an external motivation. Some people call it manipulation, whatever you want to call it, right? But ultimately, we want the best outcome is for us to be the best version of ourselves. And the first thing that we need to do is to actually know what that is.
And being the best version of yourself, that journey is not comfortable.
No.
It's bloody uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the only way that you can actually feel happy. Happiness is not in the outcomes. It is in the pursuit.
100%.
When you go through that fucking hard leg day, bro, and you come out of it, you be like, oh, fuck, yeah. But like, you know, sakit, but like, oh,
don't know-
I
don't
did
know
it.
what that feels like. I just do my toes. I go home.
You know, like if you hike a really difficult mountain and when you're at the top and you just look down and you just have this, when you're at the top you feel great, but that whole journey up, right, that feeling, nothing can replace that.
100%.
So that pursuit, the pursuit is the thing that we're after, actually, not really the goal at the end of
There's
the
a
pod.
podcast that I listened to where he said happiness, it is not the pursuit of happiness. It is finding happiness in the pursuit.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right? It is the journey.
Yeah.
And it's true, like I've achieved certain things that I fixated on, and within a few months, like the dopamine dies.
100%.
And I read somewhere as well, right? Dopamine lasts in your body. Sorry, cortisol, stress hormone,
Mhm.
lasts in your body 8 times longer than the happy hormone, dopamine.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's by design. Like once we achieve something, we get that spike, and then what's next?
100%
There's
is
always
by
another
design.
mountain to climb. There's always another mountain to climb.
Because like I'm sure you know this because you seem like you study a lot of this, but why is that so? Cortisol stays longer in your body because back in the day, during the prehistoric days, if there's a tiger, you need to remember where the tiger is staying, right? You need to know where your threats are at. The good things, like, okay, if you find a fruit, okay, I can remember where the fruit is, but you need to remember where
The tiger
lions,
is.
the tigers are at, because you want to avoid that. Where the snakes are at, you cannot go there, right? So this is why stress hormones last longer in our body, because survival
mechanism.
It's a survival mechanism. That's it.
Are you happy where you are today? Are you where you expected yourself to be today at your age, in this part of your entrepreneurial journey?
I am grateful. I am so grateful. I wouldn't say that I feel that I've achieved everything that I'm supposed to achieve. I think that even if 10 years down the road, if I put a vision board and I achieve every single thing, I will still not be happy.
Because
You know what I
you're
mean?
constantly raising
Because
the
I'm
bar.
constantly raising the bar, right? But I will always decide to live in gratitude.
Oh
I think that's really powerful.
I love that.
Whoever, like most of my sifus, my gurus, my coaches, always teach me this, which is live in gratitude. I think if you don't have anything, if you live in gratitude, you'll feel enough. When you have everything, you live in gratitude, you'll still feel enough. So that feeling of gratitude is something that needs to be practiced. And it's not something, it needs to be practiced long enough to a point where you start living it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm grateful and I try to live a grateful life, even though sometimes times are tough. Yeah, so.
I 100% agree. Like, you can have the shittiest circumstances, but approach that situation in gratitude. And you'd be like, you know what? It's not that bad. You know? And like, there's a saying, like, a rich man wants 100 things, but a sick man only wants one thing.
Yeah.
Right? So when all else looks like shit, if you have your health, you have your family, you have people around you,
Yeah.
everything else becomes inconsequential.
100%.
Right? It's just how you approach things. Entitlement is the road to misery. Gratitude is the road to happiness. So whatever it is, because there's what else are you gonna do with life, right?
Yeah.
Like any circumstance that you approach, if you approach it with any form of entitlement, my team should be like this, or my client should be doing this, or they should just get the approval done, or it should be sunny and not rainy outside. Like you're entitled to these things. If you're approaching it with a mindset of entitlement, then that gap between expectation and reality is misery. But if you approach it from a position of gratitude, then you're like, hey, this is great. And then when you have whatever it is that you want, you're like, hey, this is great.
Yep.
Right? It's all about your angle of approach, and it's about your perception on reality, how you perceive your reality.
Yeah.
Do you perceive it negatively? Or do you perceive it positively?
Yeah.
Is it an entitlement approach, or is it an approach of gratitude? Again, like previously with the leg day analogy and the manipulation tools and all this, it's the same way I hack my brain.
Okay.
Because a lot of bad things can happen. If I choose to look at a bad thing as a really bad thing, and then let it get, put a weight on me, it doesn't serve me a positive purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to look at the situation, be like, it's a shit situation, and I'm going to feel shittier about it, and that's it. Right? But if you approach it from a positive lens, you go, what can I learn from this? How do I make sure this doesn't happen again? Right? Maybe I can teach others about what happened today.
Yep.
Right?
Not everyone will have that ability and awareness to be at the level that you're at. You know what I mean?
But
Because-
it's not like a level thing. It's like what you just said. It's just like if you approach things from a lens
yeah.
of, I know the word is abuse lah.
Yeah.
Every entrepreneur says gratitude. I know it's a bit abuse, but
It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it will ever
I
be.
love it
abused.
so much.
Think it's
I love it so much.
It's such a powerful word, right? It is the number one way to live a full life, to live in gratitude. Because sometimes when you don't live in gratitude, nothing is enough. You
Yeah.
have all the billions in the bank account, right? But still not enough. I still want more. I still want power now, and it's still not enough. But when you have gratitude, you don't even have to. You don't need anything. You're good, because you already have everything that you need and more. So that's a very powerful perspective to have, because when you have nothing, you feel like you have everything, and when you actually have everything, then you have everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So to Yuri's question, it's kind of like you are not happy and you feel like you will never achieve that like happiness, but you're always approaching things in gratitude.
Yes. So I'm always pushing myself for growth, for bigger things, because I think I never want to settle. I think this is something that I've told myself so many times. I would never want to settle, even when I am 80 years old. If I get to live that long, I think I will live until the day I die.
I love that.
Because I don't want to settle. I want to find what's better, what's I just want to improve myself as I go on, right? And I think that's a really good way to live life, and you feel life is so colorful that way. So that's just my perspective on life. So the way I look at it is I'm grateful, and I happy is such a it's such a powerful word, but not a lot of people understand what it actually is, right? And it's like happy is a breakdown of like fulfillment, it's gratitude, it's like a lot of things. But I guess to a certain extent, if you're asking me, am I happy? I'm always happy because I live in gratitude, right? But that would never stop me and make me settle down. I would still want to pursue more things, higher heights.
The other day I saw this video of this interviewer asking the founder of NVIDIA,
Okay.
would you do it?
Jensen Huang.
Yeah, would you do it all over again? And he was like, hell no.
He's lying.
He's like, hell no.
Definitely do it again.
He went through hell and back, right?
He wants to dissuade competitors. Like it's so hard. Don't do it.
Don't do it, bro.
I mean, I've asked this question to Ryan before.
Yeah.
Would you do it all over again? Because it was not an easy journey. I don't think any business person that has gone through the business cycle will ever say it was easy. Would you do it again?
I think it's impossible to start all over from zero, because even if you build a business and you fall back to zero, you don't really start off from zero. You start off from 50 or 30.
There's knowledge lah.
Because you have knowledge, you have relationships, you have leverage, you have so many things, right? You don't really start from zero.
That's a good.
But to answer your question, would I start back 100%, 200%? Definitely, because I already see it happening. I already see me building, destroying, rebuilding, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's not easy, it's stressful, and some days you just feel like dying. Not gonna lie, right? Not gonna lie. But yeah, sometimes you do go through really, really dark times. Not saying that every day is like happy.
Yeah, no.
No, it's crap, man. That's bullshit. You cry yourself sometimes alone. Feel lonely. No one is there for you.
Yeah,
And no
sure.
one can feel the stress that you're feeling when your bank account is almost zero and your debts is millions. And if this fails, everything is on you.
Man, I'm getting like PTSD right now.
Right?
Hearing about
Right?
it.
So
like flashing before my eyes.
It's so real.
Yeah.
It's so real. And I guess every entrepreneur has to go through this journey. But it will pass. Just like how your successes is, it will also pass. So it's just a continuation and enjoying that journey for me. Yeah.
I remember there was a period in time when we were running platform. We were a little understaffed. And I remember I would finish work at like past midnight every night. I would go home, I would sit in the toilet, and I would just cry for half an hour. And it was just purely out of the stress and the exhaustion and the anxiety. And I think a lot of the people on the team don't know this. Ryan knows this. But I would literally sit there and cry for half an hour every day because that was my outlet. For me, I was lucky because I had Ryan. Ryan is also my partner in business, in life. So I'm lucky that I have that outlet. Do you have that outlet for yourself? Do you turn to your sister for these things?
So that was last Tuesday for me.
No.
And probably yesterday too. I do. I have a group of really good friends, and my entrepreneur friends. I think maybe Ryan knows some of them as well. Ryan, one of them, right?
Bit of an afterthought.
Yeah. No,
I have some friends.
Ultimately, my entrepreneur friends, my wife, my sister, my family. So I have a lot of outlets. So I'm blessed in that sense, right? I always have outlets that I can share things with and pick their brain. And because sometimes one thing I realize is when I'm overwhelmed, it's very difficult for you to think critically. It's hard for you to think strategically when you're emotionally drained. So I open myself up. I be vulnerable to the people closest to me, and I get feedback from them. And most of the time, I find gold within it. Almost all the time. So that helps me a lot through this phase of life. Yeah.
I have one question first, and then I think we should do that. I think it's a cool tradition. It'd be cool to have lots of guests, and obviously we have you back lah.
Okay.
So my question to you is,
Tell me.
if you were to go back in time, so because you have many businesses and you've started, ended, all this,
Sure.
normal lah. For Sugar and I, if you could go back in time, what's the one thing you would do differently?
That is a good question. Because ultimately, on hindsight, it's very clear on what I would do differently. But if I were to change that, I think I would never go through the learning process.
Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
if I could change something, I would change the fact that I opened up my central kitchen and reinvested into something different. Right?
Okay.
But with that being said, if I did not invest into the central kitchen, I wouldn't learn into looking into on how to actually turn around a business and looking into the finance, being creative with things, and ultimately pulling through lah. Because I think through the difficult times, that's the most pivotal point in your business that you learn the most. So if I could change anything, I wouldn't. But if I if right now, after learning everything, and I still could, I would change the fact that I wouldn't open a central kitchen and focus it on a different strategy.
I see. I see. Why?
Because it acts as a anchor to a certain degree.
I see.
Yeah, because you've invested in this huge cost center instead of a point of sale. So yeah, that was. But in hindsight, so basically we have to learn, adapt, and grow. But ultimately, it was not aligned to our big strategy.
So now it really forces scaling. Lor.
So it's it was the whole plan was scale, and then we built central kitchen and really scale.
Yep.
Right. But what happened now is we scaled, and then we realized that there was some issues in between. So we have to scale down
I see. Okay.
and fix certain things, and then scale again.
Okay.
So it's just like my friend gave me this really good metaphor. It's just like when you put tiles on the floor, right? And suddenly when you're done and you see one tile terbalik, bro, you have to koyak everything and redo the whole tile.
Right.
So in business, sometimes those kind of things happen. So this is my point in my business. I realized, alamak, there's a lot of tiles terbalik. I need to koyak kan and then rebuild.
I see.
So we will be closing 2 of our outlets, Central ICT and TTDI, unfortunately. But I think it's for the better future lah. Yeah.
It's learn, like, it's just learn.
Yeah.
It's always learn. Do you have one final question for Ilyas?
Yes.
Them?
So what's next for Ilyas, yourself,
Okay.
and what's next for Sugar and I?
So what's next for Ilyas is I'm planning to build my personal brand by coming up with more content, showing on how I do things, sharing my insights on certain things, and ultimately trying to help the world become a better place. That's on a personal brand. On Sugar and I think we are refurbishing our new lot in Lalaport, closing a few lots, and ultimately once introducing savory goods, coming up with more exciting, delicious food, coming out with more bundle deals, and ultimately I think we're also planning to go into B2B as well, to supply to cafes and burger shops, their burger buns. Yeah. So that's what I see for Sugar and I and Ilyas at this particular point in my life.
Sounds like you need a very strong social media content partner.
Boleh lah, we'll talk business.
This was the long sales pitch.
It was actually a sales pitch.
Everything that is to know about your business.
Yes.
What better?
Where do I sign, guys?
Right
Where
here.
is-
Speaking of which, come. Okay, we will start this tradition by copying entirely. So this is
Wait, what is this tradition?
completely. We're gonna start this tradition right now as we
Uh-huh.
speak. One question for the next guest,
I love that. Oh my god.
and nobody knows this question until the next person opens it.
Okay, done.
Chun,
All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Always a
thank you. Really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Oh,
Appreciate your
sure.
insights as well.
Yes.
Always very interesting conversation.
Thank you,
always
sir.
we always learn something new.
Always.
Yeah.
It's like, we've been talking about this for the longest time.
Yeah.
And it's like every single time we have conversations, right? It's like, that should have been a podcast lah.
I'm telling you right now, I can't even guarantee that this is gonna.
It's fine, bro. We've already had 2. You think I'm gonna stop at 3?
The future videos is content though, so.
I mean,
this
like
is-
I do this, so it's like I've done so many content that's not being posted, so it's fine.
It's okay. We'll make sure this one goes live.
Let's go. Alright guys, kepada penonton di rumah sana, terima kasih kerana anda I can't do this in Malay. For joining us today. Hope that there is episode 2 in platform digital.
Let's
There will be.
Alright, till next time guys. Bye.